Welcome back to Huddle Up. Thomas Pocrnic, Luca Celebre. And Luca, it feels like it's been a while since we were in this room doing a traditional episode of Huddle Up is what I'll call it. We have a great guest on today. Actually, a new first for the show. But how you been recently?
I've been good. I feel like, by the time this episode comes out on YouTube, it'll be 2 episodes in a row, basically, because we were in Hamilton with Mark Leggio doing some kicking stuff. And if you haven't watched that yet, go watch it. Very fun video. We love Mark. Shout out, Mark. I've been good. It's a great time to be a football fan. I'll say that because that's what we're kind of evolving this show into, is just an all-encompassing football show, which means CFL, which means maybe college football at some points, and which means NFL too. So it's kind of the best time of the year if you're a football fan.
Yeah, NFL is right around the corner, and we're right in the thick of what has been an awesome CFL season so far. And you mentioned going to Hamilton last week with Mark. I will say I think that has overtaken running onto the field as like my favorite moment with football ever, because
you had a 45-yarder, man. That's why
I hit a 45-yarder. Not to spoil the video, but I hit a 45-yard field goal, which my previous best was a 40-yarder, and I did that with Eric when we were trying to beat Brett Maher's extra point record, which is another fun video. But Mark was great. He gave us so many good pointers. Yep. Just an overall super, super cool, chill guy, like someone you definitely want to root for. That was great, and we got a ton of football content coming. I'm not sure when stuff's going out.
I know. I don't want to give a date on it.
There will be some great NFL stuff too, so watch that if you haven't. And we have a great show today. The first quarterback ever will be joining the huddle.
That's crazy. So. And I think based on the conversation we're going to have right now and the title of this video, you can probably guess who the quarterback is.
Yeah, it is a big giveaway because I think since we've actually sat in here, not only have the Edmonton Elks won a game, but they have also won a game at home, which is awesome to see this franchise starting to turn itself around. And that is a large part due to the fact that they've turned to Canadian quarterback Trey Ford, who will be joining us in a couple of moments. But it's a crazy, crazy time in Edmonton. And it's so funny because we sat here maybe a month ago. We looked at their whole schedule, being like, I don't know if they're going to be able to win a game. I don't know if the home streak is going to be able to end this season, just because they were in a dark place.
Yep.
Since then, they have They've won 2 games. They're only 1 game behind the Calgary Stampeders, and they played them twice
in a row
in the next couple of weeks.
In a row.
So it's like they can leapfrog Calgary if they continue to do what they're doing. If Trey Ford continues to ball out like he has been. I don't want to be too reactionary, but
say it.
I could see them doing it.
Doing what? Say it.
I could see the Edmonton Elks making the playoffs in the CFL.
And another important reason why that is true and that actually could happen is because of the crossover.
Yeah.
They've got wins over Hamilton and Ottawa, who they are both chasing in the crossover spot in the East. So even if they don't catch Sasky, who they also play after playing Calgary twice, they could realistically somehow be playing a playoff game in the East.
I think if this sort of conversation, the past couple weeks, if they taught us anything, it's that one, the CFL season is a long grind, and it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. Their next 3 weeks, like we said, Calgary twice, then they got Sasky. That is a nice stretch. Yep. That is a stretch where you build confidence, pick up a couple more wins. If you do that, you're right in the thick of it.
Just crazy.
The ending to their season is a brutal gauntlet. I think they got the Alouettes, the Lions, the Bombers.
They do.
I'm not sure if
it's the Argos. Yeah, it's literally it's the four best teams in the CFL, back to back to back to back, home away, home away.
Listen, if there's one man,
good luck.
If there's one person that I think can do it, that can lead this team, I think it's Trey Ford, because I like what this guy's all about. He's young. He gives them a new look. He's a great thrower of the football. He uses his legs very well. He is sort of that full package, that modern-day CFL quarterback in a league where quarterbacks are extremely hard to come by. So many of the teams that are hovering around where Edmonton is, I'd almost give Edmonton the edge in the quarterback battle based on how good Trey Ford has been the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And when you're talking about finding quarterbacks in the CFL, it's even harder to find Canadian quarterbacks in the CFL that are good. Nathan Rourke, had the pleasure of watching every week last year for the BC Lions, and he's off to the NFL now and on the practice squad for the Jaguars. But you mentioned Ford, and like he is just. We were calling for it on this show when they were losing games. Just like, when are you going to turn to Trey Ford? Because how can you not at that point? You've got all these losing streaks, and you're just going to be like, we can't do better with him. Are you kidding me? But obviously, the combination of him and then the new OC, Jarius Jackson, coming in at the same time, him starting, Jarius Jackson starting, kind of both together and taking the reins together, has just turned this team around. Ford's rushed for over 50 yards in all 3 starts, at least 50. Threw for his first 300-yard game of the season after throwing for under 200 in his first 2 games of the season, first 2 starts of the season, I should say. So, like, they are just building something special, and it's funny because he hasn't attempted over 20 passes in a game yet this season. So, like, you can clearly see the way they want to win, where it's like, limit him in the passing, but not limit him in touches, where let's get him some designed runs. Let's let him use his legs. Let's let him do both. And it's been working. It's been great.
And I think as he continues to answer the bell, the responsibility and his workload will only increase. Mm-hmm. So I'm honestly like, if you told me a month ago that I'd be excited to follow this Elks team down the stretch, monitor how they're doing each week, be like, oh, maybe they can put it together, I would have laughed at you. But the fact that they're in it still, they got a lot to play for, and not even that, is that I honestly think it's doable.
Yeah, a lot of it's absolutely doable.
It's very, very doable. So, Edmonton Elks, you guys got my vote. You got my support. I'm in your corner. I'm rooting for you. Let's see how the season ends, because it's going to be fun.
The memes of us I think when we did our power rankings that one time, it was just like
the tier list. We didn't even talk about them.
We just put them in the bottom because of course, why wouldn't you? But then the East, and it's so funny too how narratives change, because it was like the East is better than the West this year, like for sure. Mm-hmm. Argos, Als, like Hamilton and Ottawa were kind of coming on, and now it's like we're gonna have another crossover from the West again. Saskatchewan is clearly better than the 2 worst teams in the East, plus BC, plus Winnipeg. And then now you have Edmonton, who is better than the 2 worst teams in the East, too, basically, based on the last 2.5 weeks. They almost beat Winnipeg, this Edmonton team.
I think the CFL had them at 6 or 7 on their latest power rankings. So they're starting to
creep up.
They're starting to get some respect from everyone else.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine?
Yeah. It would be a great story. It actually would be a phenomenal story if they were to pull this off.
And if I'm like an East team, like if I'm Montreal looking at it, I'm just like, I got to face Edmonton.
Yeah.
Like I got to face this dual threat young quarterback who's taken the league by storm if they get to that point. Because assuming that this is what happens, that's probably what you're going to be thinking if you're Montreal. And then if you're Toronto, it's like, oh, we couldn't have just gotten like Hamilton or Ottawa. Yeah. Like we would have smashed these teams. This is an easy Grey Cup guarantee, and now we have to face like a feisty Edmonton team that no one thought would win a game, let alone would make the playoffs, let alone would win a playoff game. They're the best story in the CFL right now.
They went like very, very quickly. They went from like the worst story to the best story, and that is, like I said, in large part due to the quarterback play. And with that, I think it is a great time to welcome onto the show the quarterback of the Edmonton Elks, the Canadian quarterback of the Edmonton Elks, Trey Ford. Trey, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Let's just get right into it and talk about the season, because, I mean, for you in particular, it has been quite a wild ride. Obviously, I mean, it's been a tough start for the Elks, but you've come in now. You've gotten them their first win. Now the big home losing streak is over as well. You know, how has that sort of ride been so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, highs and lows. It's been good, been bad a little bit. Obviously, it sucked not playing for 8 weeks. You know, it can really mess with the player mentally and even physically. I wasn't getting a lot of reps. I was the 3rd or 4th string quarterback at some points. So, you know, definitely trying to make the most out of the, you know, worst situation possible. but then finally getting the opportunity to actually play, body is a little bit sore, but that's gonna happen when you're playing, and I mean it's definitely worth it. Having a blast playing football again, and having a lot more fun too, just being able to succeed as well.
That's amazing. And it's been so fun watching you play in the offense and with you and Jarius Jackson as the OC now. It's kind of been just a different look team. And so just wanted to ask you about that partnership because you guys are kind of tied at the hip as far as just when you started his first game as an OC and the offensive has seemingly taken just a big turn from just what it was. So just what do you like working with him most about, and what kind of things does he do that just maybe get the most out of you, and what kind of things do you do that allows him to just call whatever plays he wants to call? How's that partnership been?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely been pretty good. It's nice that he's played quarterback in the past, so he kind of understands me. He's been in my shoes before, and he's easy to communicate with. Whether there's plays that I like or plays that I don't like, I feel like he tries to tailor the play to me. And just going through with some of our reads and stuff are a lot more consistent on offense now, which makes reading the defense a lot easier. And I think it's definitely been a part of my success for sure.
Great. I think what's really unique about your play as a quarterback, you're what I like to call the modern day quarterback. You can get it done in so many different ways. You're great in the air. You use your legs a lot. But with that, I mean, as you sort of grew as an athlete and grew as a quarterback through high school, through the OUA, I mean, there were some doubts about whether that was sort of your best position, if you should play elsewhere on the field. Do you let that sort of fuel you still to this day?
Not really. I mean, it's not really one of the driving factors anymore. I'd say more back in high school, it was probably a driving factor. But since then, like, I don't doubt that I could go play receiver or do these other things, but it's just something I'm really not interested in doing, especially since I feel like I have been successful at whatever level I've played at quarterback. So, I mean, I don't really see the point in change. I mean, some other people might, still think it's the best idea, but it's definitely something that I'm not searching for. I got other things that fuel me now, too, like my family. I got a daughter and stuff and everything like that, so.
Yeah, I think I talked to you and your brother before the draft, and it was about, we did like the Madden ratings thing, and he was saying that you were like an excellent receiver. So that moment just sticks out in my mind too, where he was like, if you did change positions, like you'd be an unreal receiver, but why change? You're an amazing quarterback. So it's just like,
yeah,
I love that. And I could see why that would fuel you in high school too. When you're younger, when people are telling you like, hey, you can't do this. It's like, yeah, I can. So it totally makes sense. What do you think the most difficult, or go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I feel like it's more when you're like changing lanes, right? Like, so you're in high school or you're going into high school, and people are like, "Oh, he can't play quarterback," and then you get around somebody that believes you, and then like for those 4 years, you're good. And then it's like going to university. It's like all these people doubt you. Then there's one guy like Chris Bertoya who's like, "Oh no, he can do it." And then you get in a good spot. He believes in you. And then I got here too, and Jones believed in me as a quarterback and gave me that opportunity. So.
It goes to show just how one person is, all you need is one person to believe in you. It doesn't matter how many people are doubting you, as long as that one person is there and can take advantage of that skill set and sees the vision, right? Speaking of just being a dual threat quarterback, what do you think the most kind of underrated or underappreciated part of playing that kind of style, where it's like you are so great with your legs, but you have the responsibility, I guess, of you can run it any play, you can pass it. What do you think maybe the most underappreciated thing about being a dual threat quarterback is that maybe fans don't kind of see or hear when they talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people talk about being a dual threat quarterback and everything like that, which is fine. I mean, I think it's a good thing. I'm happy that I can run and extend plays and do everything. But I feel like a lot of people are, see a dual threat quarterback really is just a running quarterback. And I mean, if that's how they want to view it, it's fine. But I feel like I can throw the ball super accurately. I can make the throws downfield, and like mentally, I can go through the reads. So no, I just feel like it's an added bonus for me. I mean, some people might be like, oh well, he could have threw to that guy who was wide open, but I ran for first down. And sometimes it is like that. Sometimes there is a guy wide open. But like depending on the game situation, like are you going to throw it and risk an incompletion, or are you just going to go get the 4 yards for yourself when you see it right in front of you? So I mean, you definitely have to evaluate those things on the fly, live in the play. And I mean, anytime you can really get a first down, I mean, unless the guy's 50 yards down the field wide open by himself, then you're definitely gonna throw him the ball. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to become more of a passer too, and I think that's gonna evolve over time. Right now, I'm still young. I can still run around. Definitely gonna use it to my advantage. I would like to get the opportunity to throw the ball more and stuff as I progress through reads and just getting more experience for sure.
I like that. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you make the play. When you're out there making plays, and obviously you have been, especially the past couple weeks, no one's going to question how you get it done. So that's great. Obviously, you being from Canada, playing in the CFL, being the quarterback, sort of face of a franchise, you're in a unique position where you're sort of inspiring the next generation of young athletes who are sitting there and saying, like, I want to be like Trey Ford one day. How important is that to you? And who were some of the quarterbacks that you looked up to when you were younger?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely important to me just because, I'd like to, lay a path for Canadian quarterbacks to go have a chance to be successful. I mean, a lot of the quarterbacks that, I looked into or looked up to when I was younger, I liked Russell Wilson a lot. He was like my go-to guy growing up for sure. But then it was weird. I like other than that, like I was more invested in the other quarterbacks that were in my class and kind of watching what they were doing. So looking more at the competition, I would say. But yeah, just to lay that path for Canadian quarterbacks, because I never got the chance to go play D1 or anything like that. I went to U Sports, which like that's I feel like the difference between me and Nathan. Nathan had the opportunity to go play in the States and kind of have that American background a little bit. Um, but that's like the one thing that like was a shocker to me when I first got into the CFL locker room was, you start meeting some of the guys on their team and like, oh, I went to LSU or I went to Alabama, and I'm like, I went to Waterloo. So it was that was definitely a little bit shocking, but I think it's good like for all the Canadian quarterbacks that do want to go succeed. You don't have to go D1, you don't have to go D2. You can stay in Canada and still get the opportunity. I mean, you're going to have to ball out when you're in U Sports to get that chance and show people what you can do, but like there's definitely a path even if like I mean, I came out of high school, I was like 5'9", 5'10", 160 pounds. I'm like, it makes sense that a D1 school didn't say, hey, come to my school and be my quarterback. So, I mean, people progress and, get bigger, hit growth spurts at different times. You just got to stick with yourself and bet on yourself.
I love that. I love that.
Such good advice, especially to young athletes.
Yeah.
And like with your story and how you've been counted out and you've still managed to turn it into like a great story at the end of the day. It's really, really inspiring. So, at the end of the day, just keep doing what you're doing because like I said, there are going to be a lot of kids who are watching Elks games and saying like, I want to be like Trey Ford one day, which is, it's really cool.
Yeah. It's definitely cool to be that role model for them. I mean, I really appreciate it. So.
Love that. You mentioned locker rooms, and we have a few. We're gonna hit you with some superlatives here. Just talk about some of your teammates that best describe these categories. So, who's the biggest prankster on the Elks?
Prankster. There's not a ton of pranks that go around, so I'm gonna summarize it as a jokester.
Okay.
Manny Arsenal, for sure. He's always cracking jokes. Everybody, doesn't matter who you are, nobody's safe. For sure.
He seems like a really fun guy to be around for sure.
Yeah. Manny's a good guy. I mean, he'll joke with you and then he'll give you some great information, then he'll joke with you again. So he's a good guy to be around for sure.
Speaking of giving out some great information, who's the brainiac on the team? Who's the guy that's always got a fun fact, whether it's about football, life in general? Who's always got something to say?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Who's a know-it-all? See, it's tough because I don't get to interact with the defense as much as the offense. But not somebody I would say is a know-it-all, but somebody who definitely always has something to say but is a super, super funny guy is actually rookie quarterback Jarrett Daggy. He's a funny guy. He always has something to say, whether it's a little slide joke kind of thing. But I really like Daggy. He's a super funny guy.
Gonna get him mic'd up one game just to
Yep.
see what he says. That's amazing. Who's the teammate that claims to be the fastest, but like will never actually want to race when it comes time to like back that up? But they're like, no, I'm the fastest. Like I'll win in any race, but they never want to race.
So I talked to Swerve about racing. Me and Swerve said we would race,
Okay.
which I do think I would win still.
Okay.
Kevin Brown's pretty quick too. I think I would beat him in a race though too, but I don't know if he's down to race. I don't know if he actually wants to race. And then maybe CJ or punt returner too. He's pretty quick, but I think CJ would be willing to race. I'd probably have to go with KB. I don't think KB would actually be willing to race.
I love that. Love that. And who's the one who's just living in the past, always bringing up stories, whether it's college, high school, OUA, just always has a story to tell about, a big game or something like that.
Oh, Manny again, 100%. Manny, 100%. He has so much experience. He has stories he could tell forever. Like he never runs out of any material. He's got everything.
Is there one story that he tells above the most that he just like keeps repeating? And it's like, we've heard this one before, Manny.
Oh no, he always comes with new content. He's
that's
like
amazing.
the other day he was talking about his high school, and how their football and their basketball program, and then how it was like the best program, and then it went down a little bit, and all the scenarios and stuff going into it, and then he'll just give you a little life lesson about like advertising yourself, and then he'll just go off on all kinds of different stuff.
That's amazing. I would love to have a conversation with him. We'll get him on next time, too.
Yeah.
Last one for you. Best and worst taste in music. Who has the best? You can tolerate it, and whose music taste is just like, we cannot listen to this.
Okay, so usually the defense just grabs the aux in the locker room and just plays everything. You can't hear what people are saying or listening to in their headsets or whatever they got on.
Mm-hmm.
But see, whoever listens to like the one music I can't do heavy metal.
Okay.
Oh, I'm like that.
I can't do that. But I listen to country music myself. I really like country music. I like hip hop. Oh my God. Airbnb? Yeah.
R&B.
R&B. Yeah. I was thinking Airbnb too. I don't know what the hell I was thinking about. But yeah, those are probably those are the big three for me. I mean, I listen to a lot of throwbacks too. I mean, my dad was listening to all kind of throwbacks back in the day, so definitely learned some of that from him. And then even Manny will get in there. He'll listen to some throwbacks on the aux too. So
he's probably got some deep cuts. He's everywhere. Like he's got everything
Manny's
going on.
all over the place. He's definitely he talks the most on the team for sure out of anybody. He's always talking.
I love it. That makes sense.
All right, we like to end every show with a segment that we call Three Downs for obvious reasons. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one because you are Canadian, but you have played with a lot of American teammates in the CFL. So can you give us 3 things that you sort of picked up from these American teammates where you just kind of said, like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird because there are cultural differences. We've talked to some American players and they've told us weird things about Canada.
Yeah, or just like poutine. They're like, what? This is like, when I think of like Canadian things, it's like poutine. So when you think of like American things, what are either things or phrases that you've caught on to that you find yourself saying that you've picked up?
Well, no, I've kind of always been told like that I kind of talk like an American, and I was like, I never really realized that. Like I didn't ever notice that. So I mean, I guess you could consider that, but I've been doing that for a while now. But even my wife does say I sound a little bit more American now when I talk. But
interesting.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I think I talk how I've always talked. So
I think so too. I don't know. Maybe we just don't notice it.
Yeah. I have talked to some American guys. They really do not like poutine, and I'm like super confused because I love it. Like it actually tastes good. Like I don't know if they've ever actually tried it, but if they would just give it a chance, Like I'm a big poutine advocate. My wife is French too. She's first language French. She's big on poutine. You gotta say it properly, or she be getting mad at me sometimes. And then, the other thing I talked to them a little bit about is like real estate a little bit. I guess it's a little bit different in the States. Because I always be talking about, like you can get a house for 5% down, da 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 da. They're like, oh no, you can't. You have to be Canadian and do that or whatever. And then I guess they have to put like 20% down if they want to buy a property and all these kind of different things. Yeah. Those are probably big three for me.
Yeah. That's a big difference. Yeah.
Not what I would have expected.
Not what I would have expected.
The poutine one was like, I think we talked poutine with a lot of different players on this show, but no, that's an interesting one.
That is. You learn something new every day. There we go. No, go ahead. Wrap it up.
Trey, we want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us, and we wish you the best of luck going forward. Keep doing big things and keep supporting Canada like you are.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Great stuff from Trey Ford, and once again, thank you for joining us, and best of luck. And I think, did we learn more about, with talking to Trey, did our answer change on whether or not the Elks will make the playoffs? Because from what I just saw, he's young, obviously, but very, very mature, very, very well-spoken, very motivated, like all the sort of character traits that you would want from a young quarterback.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to do it. I'm buying into the hype, and it's more because this is the story I want to see play out most, where they somehow put all of the doubters, the naysayers, and look, they can make the playoffs with a sub 500 record. Like, that's completely possible, and that's just the way it goes, right? Like, I don't know if they'd surprise anyone in the playoffs, but the fact that they were 0-9 to make the playoffs after that would be just the best story of the year. I'm saying yes. He's an amazing guy. He just exudes confidence, charisma. He's a leader. I would love to play for him.
Yeah, he's joined my list of players I'm rooting for this year.
Oh my God.
And I think Edmonton is going to win 2 of the next 3. Beating Calgary twice is going to be tough. It is going to be tough to beat the same team twice 2 weeks in a row. So that is going to be tough. But I think they'll win 2 of those next 3 games. And then in the final 4, I think they can steal 1.
I think they can too.
You can catch the Owls. You can catch the Lions sleeping. I mean, they almost beat the Bombers that one time. So
they can win that one and maybe steal another one. The Elks are going to the playoffs.
That's how we're closing it today. The Elks are going to the playoffs.
Wow.
See you next week.
I didn't think we'd get to this point ever. This is crazy. But Edmonton fans, we support you.
Go Elks, go.